We'll see if we can get a few more viewers before we get too deep into today's live training. Good morning. Happy Thursday, Tuesday. Hold up. It's not Thursday yet. I am 2 days ahead of myself. I guess it's been a big week. How is everyone doing? Hope you are well. Yesterday was my 8-year Singiversary, which means yesterday was 8 years since I moved to Singapore, which is quite the milestone, I have to say. What a whirlwind it has been. Today, we are discussing how to keep the weight off once you've lost it. Last week's training was a great hit, a great success. Thank you for joining if you were here. Last week was about how to lose stubborn fat. And stemming off of that subject, I wanted to dive a little deeper into how we can keep the weight off. Because let's be real, losing the weight can be challenging for sure. Usually, however, it's keeping the weight off, which is more tricky, more troublesome, more challenging, more of a hurdle, and what most people have a little bit more of an issue with. So I wanted to unpack that and make sure that we really touch on everything that you can do to keep that weight off once you have lost it. And like with everything, if you have been following me for some time, if you've consumed a bit of my content, you won't be surprised to hear that the way you see yourself, your own self-perception, your self-identity is going to underpin everything. So we really ought to start there. And I've recently come across a little bit of work which suggests there's a 2-year delay between how you see yourself and having that perspective and perception catch up with your reality. So if you think about how you see yourself today, what that is suggesting is that your self-perception may be outdated by 2 years. So if you're 42, you're seeing yourself as the 40-year-old version of yourself. If you're 35, you're seeing yourself as the 33-year-old version of yourself. If you're 48, you're seeing yourself as the 46-year-old version of yourself. So it's very interesting to understand that there is a known and noticeable delay between how you see you and how you actually are. Now, if you have had a history of yo-yo dieting, losing 10 kilos, putting on 12, trying a new diet every other Monday, starting January 1st or 2nd, with all the enthusiasm in the world to finally make change, you're going to have a big bank of evidence to suggest that you can't stick to something. And when your brain sees that substantial evidence that you can't stick at anything, you don't really stand a chance at creating sustainable lifelong change. So that's worth mentioning. Often when people seek to create change, they're operating from a place of force. They're coming from a place of incongruence. They're out of alignment. They say they want to lose 10 kilos because it sounds good, because they think they should want to lose 10 kilos. They think they should have their pre-baby body, which is just absurd to me. I mean, your body changes. I mean, every single cell in your body is different after you give birth. I don't know how you can expect your body to be the same. It's not going to be the same. Like, sorry, not sorry. Not to say you can't love your body. Of course you can. Not to say that you can't lose, that weight that you gained during pregnancy. Of course you can. But it's a different body. Like, fuck, you brought a life into this world. How amazing is that? So all this to say that to keep weight off is only possible if you see yourself as being a person who can stick at something. If you can stick at applying yourself to something, and if you're proactive and looking for the evidence of that in your life, then sticking at keeping weight off is also easier. So people kind of forget, if you have practiced giving up, you get really good at giving up. And giving up is just avoiding discomfort. So again, sticking at anything just requires you to sit in discomfort longer than what you're comfortable to do. That's how your capacity to tolerate discomfort expands and increases. like lifting weights. You don't get stronger if you give up every single time the weight feels heavy. That's not how you build muscle. You don't get better at building intimacy in a relationship if you never have uncomfortable conversations, and if you don't challenge yourself to be vulnerable with a person. You don't stand the chance of getting a pay rise if you never have that conversation with your manager or with your staff. That's just reality. So seek to understand everything that you want lies on the other side of discomfort, and being able to sit in the discomfort is going to create the capacity for you to create more and more change, because it's going to allow you to persevere. And really, keeping up anything or persevering through anything requires you to be good at sitting in discomfort. Like, that's just it. Knowing too that over time your definition of discomfort changes, right? So you might start doing squats at 8 kilograms, and if you practice that and stick to that and apply yourself at that, over time 8 kilograms becomes easy because you've built muscle, you've built your capacity to handle discomfort. So then you get to 10 kilos, and then same thing happens. Initially 10 is uncomfortable. In my squats, I'm currently at 117.5 is where my technique starts to fall apart for now, and one day that will be 120, and one day that will be 130. It's a process of constantly getting to that point where I am now uncomfortable and finding this really hard, and I'm persevering through that so that I can build up that bandwidth and capacity to squat more. So the same can be true, and same is true for emotions. And that's why people have average lives and average relationships and average careers and are feeling unfulfilled and unhappy, because they just stick to what they know and what is familiar and what's comfortable. If you want to keep weight off, a great place to start is what got you there in the first place. Okay. I see this in the people I train. They often will get to a point where they lose a little bit of weight and they'll think, oh, cool, I lost 3 kilos. Now I can eat whatever I want because I lost 3 kilos. So 3 kilos that I can consume in calories. And then in a lot of instances, it's not surprising to see that they do put on weight because they stop doing what got them to the point of being lighter and leaner in the first place. A lot of this is not really rocket science, okay? The science behind weight loss and fat loss is quite well established. It's the behavioral science which people are less well versed with and less familiar with. So if you've lost weight, I would really encourage you to look at your methods, look at your approaches, look at how you were eating, how you were exercising, how you were training, fueling up, nourishing yourself, and ask yourself, what about that worked for me? What about those approaches? What was it about those approaches that fit into my lifestyle? What part of those approaches can I see myself doing in a month's time, in 6 months' time, in 2 years' time, maybe even 10 years' time? And yes, you should be thinking that long term, because your brain and your body, that's all you have from the first day of your life until your last. I mean, some of us lose our mind towards the end. Unfortunately, we do have Alzheimer's and dementia, and that runs in my family. But they're the only 2 things that you truly have. So don't we owe it to ourselves to be thinking about our health in decades to come? So I'm really excited to be 80 and unscrewing jars of peanut butter all by myself. And I'm just as excited to back squat 120 kilos when that day comes, probably this year. You have to be excited by both, because life, again, it's not just now. Health is not just 30 days. It's not just a 30-day challenge. It's not a 12-week challenge. Health is a continuum. It is constantly something that is good, bad, really, really good, not so great. And it's so multidimensional, so multifaceted. It's really, really important that we have this long-term vision. So when you are thinking about incorporating an approach into your health and well-being, you owe it to yourself to consider Do I see myself being able to keep this up after this 30-day challenge or 12-week phase or 6 months is over? What we're about to see a lot of in the fitness realm is people traveling overseas for the summer break, and a lot of people letting loose, so to speak, and eating all the foods and drinking all the wine and drinking all the alcohol, letting their hair down and have a great time with family and friends, but really neglecting their nutrition and really neglecting their physical fitness. And then come August, I'm going to have a ton of inquiries, and I know that because this is what happened last year and the year before, and a lot of people feeling really guilty and just not so great about themselves because of how they treated themselves in June and July. And then we'll see people really fit and healthy, quote unquote fit and healthy, however you define that, until end December. And then of course there's Christmas and New Year. And in certain parts of the world, we also observe and celebrate Chinese New Year. And so people are going to take it a bit slower. And the same thing will happen until, the second week of January, everyone's back, and same thing. So, a lot of this yo-yoing of losing weight and regaining it and losing it and regaining it and not being able to keep things off really maps to how you treat yourself month to month to month, year to year to year. What is really important is that you identify how you treat yourself every single week of every single month of every single year. Are you really quote unquote fit and healthy end of January, February, March, April, May, then kind of give up, loosen the reins June, July, maybe July, August, and then pick it back up again August, September, October, November, December, because you can't expect to be able to keep anything off if you're only really proactive with your health for 5 months at a stretch. And that may be a hard pill to swallow, okay? You think I should be able to lose 10 kilos and I should keep it off, and why do I keep why do I keep putting 2 to 5 kilos on middle of the year and 2 to 5 kilos on at the end of the year? It maps to your lifestyle. I look this way because of how I treat my body every single day, not because I go on sabbatical and neglect my health for like the whole of December every single year, or 4 times a year when I go on a 5-day trip to Bali. Like, no, I treat my body very consistently well. I give my body great nourishment, great fuel, a ton of hydration. A lot of you are familiar with Penelope Peach, the gorgeous 2-liter water bottle. Sleep is something for me to work on, but I get as much sleep as I can, and I get the best quality sleep that I can, and I do that by eating early in the night. I don't eat late at night. I stop drinking water by 8 p.m. I have my magnesium to help with my sleep quality, and so I do the best I can with the lifestyle I have. We all have room for improvement somewhere. So all of this to say, if you want to have a quote unquote better body, and if you want to be able to keep weight off after you've lost yourself, ask yourself, are you treating yourself well Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Or are you treating yourself well Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, not really at the end of Friday because you're having drinks with colleagues and maybe drinking more than anticipated and maybe eating a bit more greasy, heavy bar food than you planned. And then Saturday you go out, and then Sunday you have afternoon drinks. So, like consistency, guys, like consistency. Your body notices how you treat it. Weirdly enough, your body notices when you give it high nutrient dense foods. Your body notices when you treat yourself like shit. Your body is a temple, not a trash can. But, we all got work to do. So it's really important you ask yourself, am I really treating my body the way that it ought to be treated in order to look the way that I want it to look? Because again, if you are only quote unquote on diet and exercising and looking after yourself for 4.5 days of the week, every single week, then cool. The way you look in the mirror is probably going to reflect that. And again, if you are consistent for 4 or 5 months of the year and then inconsistent for 1 to 2 months of the year, your results will reflect that. And that's not really conducive to keeping weight off. So you have to get good at doing things you don't want to do. And knowing that that is going to help you to keep the results that you want. This is what we call discipline. It's called doing the hard shit. And I do say this to my clients sometimes, okay, when they need a little bit of a reality check. You know, I'll say to them, you just have to do the hard shit. You have to do the hard work. And that is making healthier choices when you travel. It's making healthier choices when you're on summer break. And a lot of us are about to go on summer break. And a lot of us are going to travel for 2, 3, 4 plus weeks. A lot of us have to get good at making healthier choices on, for example, Christmas Day. A lot of us have to get better at making healthier choices Friday evening, saying no to going out for drinks, or saying no to the bar bites that everyone else is eating, saying no to the pizza, saying no to the burgers. We have to get better at saying yes to what is in alignment with where we want our health and fitness to be, okay? So there's nothing wrong with saying no to alcohol. And I get a lot of questions about this because I don't drink alcohol. God only knows how I'm not having to revoke my Australian citizenship, but that's a topic for another day. We feel the need to copy the behavior of other people to make them feel comfortable because those people don't feel comfortable with us. And it's not your job to make someone else feel comfortable with the fact that you don't drink alcohol and you don't eat shit food. And it's a social pressure. What you have to understand is pressure is just a perception. That's all it is. Pressure is you feeling like you are going to get rejected by someone else if you don't do X, Y, and Z. So in this example, if you feel like someone is not going to like you because you don't drink alcohol, you probably don't need that person in your life. What value are they actually bringing to your life? You ought to ask yourself that question. I'm just reading a comment here which came through. I sort of fell off the way. I had lost 50 pounds and I have gained 20 pounds, probably back from drinking and being consistent. Okay, and I really appreciate that personal insight and that share from your own story. Yeah, alcohol has a massive interference when it comes to body composition. A lot of people will say, well, you know, empty calories, carbs. Yeah, but that's not the whole picture. 1 gram of alcohol is 7 calories. So it is calorie dense, not as much as fat. Fat is 9 calories per gram. What really interferes with people's results when it comes to alcohol is alcohol changes the way that we metabolize. It just reframes and repositions and reorders how the body metabolizes. So you could, for example, have a really quote unquote healthy meal. You have maybe a steak and some vegetables. And, you know, that's a pretty healthy meal for a lot of people. If you add alcohol to the mix, so if you have red wine, and nothing against red wine, I don't like alcohol, so I'm against all of it. Just for me personally, you know, if you want to drink, you do you, boo, no judgment, but I just personally don't drink. The qualm with alcohol is that your body labels it as poison, as a toxin, because it is. And your body, first of all, sends like a red alert to the rest of your body to get the alcohol out. So your body's first priority then is to get the alcohol out of your system before it then does anything with the beautiful micro and macronutrients that you got from any nutrition that you had, you know, usually in the preceding 24 to 48 hours. So the real issue there is you may put a lot of, you know, iron and folate and protein, healthy fats, and lots of lots of vitamins and minerals from all the vegetables you ate in that meal, but your body doesn't give a shit because it's trying to get rid of the alcohol, because alcohol, again, is a poison, it's a toxin. So that's really the issue that we see with alcohol intake when it comes to body composition. I can do a separate training on that, But I just want to share that because a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people just think, oh, it's just carbs, it's just empty calories. And they think that's why it's an issue. And part of that is true. It's just not the full picture. I'm grateful for you commenting. Thank you so much for watching. So yeah, it's going to be a thing to work on. If you want to keep weight off, again, this ties back into your self-belief, your self-perception, your self-identity. If you are someone who feels the need to drink or eat in a particular way to make the people around you feel comfortable because they don't feel comfortable with the fact that you don't want to eat like them and you don't want to drink like them, it's going to be very, very hard to keep that weight off. So building that self-esteem and building the 6 inches between your ears and building in that confidence and that conviction and understanding that, hey, I am a person who doesn't drink. So if you have an issue with that, that's a you problem, not a me problem. And being cool with saying that is tremendously powerful. But how many of us are there? And how many of us realize how important it is to be able to say that out loud? And it's always so nice when my clients come to me and they're like, Laura, everyone else was drinking. And I just said, I'm just going to stick with the water. That is such a wonderful feeling when people say that to me. And again, if you want to drink, good for you. That's totally cool. But I think what's really important is that you consume what you consume on your terms. And again, this is what people are not so in tune with and people are not so connected with. People are not eating mindfully and they're not eating what they want to on their own terms based on their hunger, their flavor preference, their flavor profile, their digestion, their needs, their nutritional needs. People just are not eating in such a fashion by and large. People are just, caught up in meetings until 2 p.m. They're rushing outside to get something from the nearest hawker center or nearest store that is still open at 2 p.m. and grabbing whatever they can get. It's just very reactionary and not intentional. So to keep weight off, you have to be intentional. You have to be connected with yourself, your center. You have to have a great understanding of what exercise feels good for you and what intensities, what food feels good for you, when it feels good to eat. Does it feel good for you to eat first thing in the morning? Maybe not. Does it feel good for you to eat before training? Maybe not. Does lactose feel good for you? Maybe not. In Asia, for a lot of people, lactose is a huge issue. Does gluten feel good for you to consume? Maybe not. So to keep the weight off, you have to, first of all, have a really deep understanding of how you want to live versus how you're living, what feels good and in alignment when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to lifestyle, and then having the ability to deliver on that and give your body what it needs when it comes to fitness, give your body what it needs when it comes to nutrition. And cool with letting other people be offended if they don't like the way that you eat. Because you know what, at the end of the day, people are always going to have a reason to judge you and people are always going to have a reason to not like you. So you might as well have them not like you because you're not eating cake or because you're not drinking alcohol. Do you know? Like, if people are going to look for a reason, people are going to look for a reason. It's not for you to manage the emotions of other people, is what I'm trying to say. So once we have that in place, we need to go back to the lifestyle piece. We need to look at what's it that you need to do for you on a daily basis to better your health. And when I say health, I also mean mental health, also your nutrition, also your fitness. So I'll give you just some personal examples. And by the way, I'm not a perfect example. I am just an example. And this is my profession. This is something I have over 15 years of experience in. So this is a little bit more second nature to me because I have that background. So just take this as an example, not the template. Okay, this is not what you should be trying to replicate for yourself. So when it comes to, for example, mental health, on a daily basis, I use the breathe function on my Apple Watch. So for those of you who have an Apple Watch, and there might be other devices which have a similar function, I'm just not so aware of. There is a breathe function. So what you can do is you can set a timer on the watch and it's going to vibrate. And the idea is that you inhale in time with the vibration and exhale in time with the vibration. I've set mine to 5 minutes. I think that's the highest I can go. And I typically do this on the way to work. So on the way to work, I'm catching up with the notifications. I'm messaging my assistant to check in with her. I am doing all kinds of things. But I'm also trying to keep myself calm and chilled and in tune with my breath so that I can have a sense of presence and calmness to start the day. So I do that daily. This now for me is a habit. It is something that I've done enough times where it feels very second nature. Once I get in the taxi on the way to work, once I've messaged my assistant and done my morning Instagram story, I then hit breathe on my app and I just build that into my day. That's just my routine. I'm in a taxi. I don't have to be looking at my phone. I only have to make sure the taxi driver goes the right way. And so there's 2 directions that I have to give, and that's it. The other thing that I do for my mental health is I have a gratitude app on my phone. It's called Morning. Let me just double check that. I really like this app. Actually, my client uses it, and that's how I found out about it. It is called Morning with an exclamation mark. It's a pink badge. I'm not sure if this is going to come up on screen. No, it's not going to come. So if you wanted to search that, there, you can kind of see that if you're on Instagram and on the other devices too. I like it. It's very simple. It gives me 3 prompts each day, asking me what I'm grateful for, what would make today great, daily affirmation, what are some amazing things that happened today, what could I have done to make today better. And I really like their quotes. I find a lot of quotes to be very cheesy. I think their quotes are very well thought out. So they are 2 things that I do daily for my mental health. My job is quite interactive when I'm training people on gym floor. So I get that human interaction and human connection as well. And I think that's really, really great. And that's a really healthy thing for me to do. I'm not so much of a person who goes out and socializes, but my job is very interactive. And I really like the depth of connection I can get with training one person at a time. So I love that. That is what I do for my mental health on a daily basis. There's a few other things that may come up. I might stretch, maybe, or do mobility work, which I ought to do a little bit more of. And that is really, really beneficial too. I might go for the occasional massage, and that is also great for my mental health, good stress reliever. But they are the main things. What do I do for my physical health? Well, okay, people are probably not going to be as surprised here. I lift heavy shit. I lift the heaviest shit I can. So I lift weights in the gym, and typically my sessions are 2 hours on average, and that can also include cardio sometimes. So I might cycle on a stationary bike for 20 to 40 minutes. I might also go on the Stairmaster, the step machine. On weekends, if I'm up early enough, I might go for a big walk outdoors. I'm really fortunate where I live. It's a very, very, very nice backdrop with Labrador Park and Keppel Island. So if I can get up early, I will go for a nice long walk there. And that kind of takes 2 boxes. For me, that's a little bit of a mental health thing because I tend not to listen to anything. I'm not listening to a podcast or an audiobook. I am just trying to be present with nature. And it's really nice that I can do something good for my physical health and mental health at the same time. 2, I want to point out that what you do for your physical health is going to benefit your mental health because you're increasing your endorphins, you're increasing, like your dopamine, you're increasing your natural testosterone, naturally increasing your testosterone levels, and that is connected with mood. So you should know that improving your physical health or taking any positive action in addressing that is inadvertently going to benefit your mental health too. So 2 birds, 1 stone. What do I do for my physical health? Okay, other quite obvious things. Well, if you know me, you know I love sunscreen. Okay, and I will reapply my sunscreen at lunchtime. I have a spray sunscreen in my bag. I'm a little bit of a nerd, but I don't care because it's not cute. Looking like a leather handbag. I do want to look like a leather handbag, especially at this age. So I reapply my sunscreen at lunchtime. I have a spray so it doesn't mess up my makeup. I do that on the back of my hands too. Brushing my teeth. God, I hope everyone brushes their teeth. And then, of course, the nutritional component. So getting a lot of protein into my diet, getting at least 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of what I weigh every single day, regardless of whether I train or not. Getting carbohydrates before I train, because yes, you need carbs if you want to get leaner, because you're going to need carbs to fuel your workout. So if you're not getting carbs, don't expect to have energy to train. Don't expect to see change, because you're not going to be able to train hard enough. You're just going to feel like puking. You're going to feel lightheaded. You're going to feel nauseous. You're going to feel out of breath. Sometimes those symptoms come from having low iron as well. I should just point that out. Low ferritin, stored iron. So you want to have that tested when you do routine blood work. But the carbs are really going to be the fuel source. Hydration, you all know Penelope Peach, my 2-liter water bottle. So I get through 6 liters of water a day, probably. Okay, you have to bear in mind I'm exercising for about 2 to 3 hours every single day. I have an active job. I'm on my feet about 17 hours a day. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning most mornings, and I am, just very, very active. So I need more water than other people. But in saying that, I would say the average person in Singapore needs 4 liters a day because of how humid it is. And especially if you are active and active outdoors. Of course, if you are active outside, you're going to sweat more, you're going to lose water and those electrolytes at a faster rate. You'll need to replenish them at a faster rate. So that's worth factoring in. So that's what I do daily, and I take my supplements. I take magnesium because everyone's deficient in magnesium. Almost every single person is deficient. I have a good podcast on that if you want to listen. I did that with Ahmed Ida. He's a great nutritionist in Australia. So magnesium, super, super, super important. It is key in over 200 enzymatic functions in the body. You need that to stay hydrated. You need that to sleep. You need it to recover from exercise, just to name a few. So I take zinc in the evenings with my dinner. I take, magnesium. I take magnesium at nighttime with my dinner. I do take zinc because I am low in zinc. That's why. If you are not low in zinc, you probably don't need to. If you're constantly getting infections, or if you were perhaps on some sort of birth control, which may have reduced your testosterone levels, it may be helpful to have blood work done to then supplement zinc. Okay, so that is why I am testing. That's why I'm supplementing zinc, because I had it tested and I saw that I was low. Might as well address that with a supplement, okay? Because I'm not about to start eating seafood and shellfish. Yuck. That's just my personal opinion on seafood. I do take fish oil because I don't eat oily fish. I think oily fish is disgusting. So I would rather take it in pill form, and I do take that at nighttime. Other supplements, I do take creatine. Monohydrate improves ATP function, thus power, energy output. So my gym performance is better because of creatine. What else do I take? They're the main items. And again, that's all very sensible. It's all very sensible. Magnesium, sensible because most people are deficient. For a lot of people, vitamin D is going to be an issue too, especially if you wear long sleeve trousers. And if you're indoors most working hours, you will probably want to be taking 1,000 to 2,000 individual units a day. But again, might as well have it tested if you're doing blood work anyway, because if you have sufficient vitamin D levels, then kind of just creating expensive urine. When you take vitamin D, you should know that it is going to be more efficacious, more effective, if you combine that with 10 grams of fat in the meal that you take, okay? So if you're taking it with, if you're having like cheese on toast, or if you're having eggs on toast, even better, more protein, healthy fats. So if you're having eggs on toast for breakfast, that would be great with like a little bit of butter. Basically, vitamin D is fat soluble, so you need some sort of fat to help the body absorb it. And from current research, it suggests about 9 to 10 grams is the optimal amount of fat to take that with. So supplements, there are supplements that I take daily, and that's just all very, very sensible, straightforward things. Magnesium, because most people are deficient. Fish oil, because I need some sort of omegas. I have a very low fat diet, and I do not like fish. Zinc, because I'm low in zinc. Creatine for power output, gym performance. Do I take protein powders? I'm just going to talk on this because I'm sure there will be questions. Sometimes As a snack, I might have an apple and a protein shake, maybe some almonds as well. If I'm in between meals, then potentially, yeah. Every single day, I mix it with my yogurt, actually. I like my protein powder mixed with my yogurt to increase the protein content for that meal. So I usually have yogurt with protein powder and typically mixed berries in the morning or the afternoon. So I use it as a way to fortify, in a sense, the protein content of that meal. Do you need protein powder? Maybe I should just do a separate talk on that. That's a very open-ended question. That's a very ambiguous question. To me, it's better that a person gets some sort of protein and gets more protein into their diet, because let's face it, most people are not getting anywhere near enough, than to not take it because it's not a quote-unquote natural source. I think protein powders and protein bars are being vilified. And, for most of us, it's just going to be a convenient way to get more protein into the diet. I don't think we need to make it harder for people to make healthier choices. And if that means a person is going to get 25 grams of protein into their diet that they usually wouldn't, I would rather them just get the damn protein, because, again, that's going to help you build muscle, repair muscle, maintain muscle. It's going to contribute to bone health, bone strength, and a ton of other things. And let's face it, as you get older, it's harder to keep muscle mass because testosterone levels decline, which means our metabolism, which means our muscle mass declines, which means our metabolism declines. The domino effect is quite noticeable. So we can't do too much about the fact that naturally testosterone is going to decline for men and women. What you can do to mitigate that is lift weights, because naturally lifting weights is going to increase your testosterone, your localized testosterone levels. So that's one positive thing that you can do. But, biology is biology. So we have to do the next best thing, okay? And for me, that means making sure that your zinc levels are good, make sure you're lifting heavy shit, make sure you're getting enough protein into your diet. Doing those three things is going to make a heck of a difference. And again, most people are barely even getting 1 gram of protein per kilo of what they weigh. So, for example, if someone weighs 60 kilograms, that person is probably getting like 50 grams of protein a day, maybe 60 to stretch. What they need is 90, at least. 90 minimum. Not 90 grams of chicken breast. Oh no, 90 grams of chicken breast is what, 25 grams of protein, 24 grams of protein? No, 90 grams of actual protein. Okay. So, yeah. So that's what I do for myself daily, for my mental health, my physical health, my fitness, and my nutrition. Then, if we zoom out a little bit, look at what you need to do weekly. What is it that the healthiest version of you needs to do for you on a weekly basis? I can't answer that question. What do I do for me? I make sure I have a day of not exercising, or at least one day of not lifting weights. So I consistently lift weights 5 to 6 times a week. At least 5, sometimes 6. Honestly, it depends how I feel, depends what I want to do with my weekend, depends if I have weekend plans. I don't stress myself out about doing that. 5 happens for sure, and 6, if it's convenient, if it fits into my schedule, if I've done other things around the house and other work-related tasks that need doing, then sure, I might do a 6 session. But for me, it's also important to have one day where I'm not lifting weights. My body needs the recovery, and my body definitely tells me that it needs the recovery. Each week, what else do I do? I do a face mask for my skin. I wash my makeup brushes for my mental health to feel prepared for the week ahead. I plan my meals, so that also covers the nutrition element. So I do meal prep. I cook my beef mince, my chicken breast, my pasta, make sure I have my groceries ordered. I plan all of my outfits in advance. So the way that my wardrobe is structured, I have a system where I can pre-plan 10 weeks worth of work outfits in advance. So I make sure I'm up to speed with my laundry, and I make sure that, I have those workout outfits planned in advance. So there's just no guesswork during the week. I'm not looking for things at the last minute. I'm not looking for a hair tie that matches my crop top, or the right socks, or the right shoes, and making sure my shoes are clean. That's what I do for myself on a weekly basis. And then zoom out again. What does the healthiest version of you need to do for you on a monthly basis? Do you need to clean out the fridge? I just cleaned my fridge myself and my boyfriend. I can't take all the credit. He did a great job in helping. So I clean out the whole fridge and make sure that's clean. And I organize my food. I organize where it is in the fridge so that I know where to find things during the week. I'm not stressing out about where is this? Have I cooked this? Does this need defrosting? Does it need to be refrozen? Do you know? So that goes a long way in contributing to the systems that I have in place. When you build systems and you get really good at practicing those systems, there's so much less guesswork, there's so much less stress. You just know what to do A to Z. So every single week, I need to know I have chicken cooked, pasta cooked. I have pasta before I train. That just feels good for me, digests well, it gives me enough energy, it feels substantial enough. I need to have my beef mince cooked. I do eat beef. I need the iron from the red meat. I like it. It's different from chicken. It's just a different flavor profile. I need to have my groceries ordered. I know what groceries I need to have ordered. I need to have my outfits planned. I need to have my makeup tools washed. I need to check at my supplements and see if any of my supplements need to be stocked up, if I need to buy more supplements. I need to see how many protein bars and what levels of protein shake I have. Do I need to order more protein shakes? Do I need to order more protein bars? These are just some of the things I do on a week-to-week basis to ensure that I can perform at an optimal level. Okay, again, the less guesswork, the better. And then I can just get busy applying those processes and not scrambling to find healthy food or outfits or protein bars and snacks. I just know where it is. Okay. So all of this to say, you need to build systems. You need to build systems. And a system is a series of small habits. So that's my weekly system. But the smaller habits in that are ordering groceries, cooking groceries, portioning groceries. So weighing my food out into individual containers and then taking it with me to work each day. That whole thing is a process that contains 4 or 5 smaller habits. And this is what really helps people to keep going in whatever trajectory they're on, whether it's weight loss, whether it's study, whether it's preparing for a marathon, whether it's raising a child or children. Keep applying processes. And this is what no one is doing. No one's building processes because no one really wants to change their life because that's hard and it's inconvenient. And it's really, really just easier to stay comfortable with where you are. You know, again, it comes back to what I said at the start. How much discomfort are you willing to sit in order to grow, in order to build the life that you envision for your health and for your body? Something worth asking yourself. So that covers a lot. What I really like to do too is I like to use a habit tracking app. I have Strides, but there's so many. There's really so many habit tracking apps. There's about 5 or 6 really, really good ones. If you just search in your app store on your device, habit tracking, habit forming, habit, there are so many, and one is not better than the other. The best app is the one you are the most likely to use. And I have my own process for deciding which app to use. I download all of them in that category. I download the most promising 10, and then I just reverse engineer from there. So then I look at the features. I like Strides because of how specific I can be with my reminders. That's why. I like that specificity. That's important to me. But other people may not care about that. And other people may want something a little simpler and easy to navigate. They may want something a little more colorful, a little more playful, or a little bit more animated, and that's fine. So just find what works for you. And really, I would start by putting maybe 2, 3 things in there at most, because honestly, people have a great tendency to overwhelm themselves and put way too many stresses on themselves by trying to do everything all at once. And that's just not how behavioral change occurs. People are not light switches, though they like to think so. So I would start with one thing related to fitness, one thing related to nutrition, and maybe one thing related to mental health, and just take it from there. And just get good at doing those things on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So, for example, one could be to get 6,000 steps a day. Because if you work in an office, you barely get 4,000. I can tell you that now. And I don't say that to be mean, that's just the truth. So you might set your goal as getting 5,000 steps a day. You're trying to get an extra 2,000. Put that in your habit tracking app. Set 2 reminders every single day so that you are reminded, that's top of mind, to get those steps done. What that does is that starts training your eye to see opportunity where you can get more steps. So instead of just having a normal seated meeting, you then start to look for opportunities to do a walking meeting or stand to take your calls, which I'm doing now, I'm standing. And that makes a big difference long term. And that's also very doable. And when it feels doable, it's more likely to be done. And if it's done time and time again, then it's more likely to be sustained. So just start with small shifts, 2, maybe 3 things, one related to fitness, one related to nutrition, one related to mental health, and just get good at doing those things consistently to the point where it feels like it's second nature. Now, typically habits take 66 days minimum to form. That's going to be about 12 weeks, okay? 10, 12 weeks at least. So it really takes a long time. And it even takes up to 250 days, to be honest. And that's like 9 months, closer to 9 months. You want to be patient. But when these daily acts become second nature, when it starts to feel a bit more normal, and when it feels like it's now part of how you see you, that's when you can look at the next thing. And that's when you can maybe add one more fitness related thing, which might be to get to the gym, let's say twice a week and lift weights. Okay. You might start with trying to get 2,000 more steps a day. And then once that feels normal and natural, then try and make it to the gym twice a week. This is just an example. Of course, there's so many different ways you could approach this. With food, it might start by trying to get 90 grams of protein a day. If you weigh 60 kilograms and you know you're not eating enough protein, that would be a great place to start, especially if you want to get leaner. If you want to feel stronger, that's a great starting point. When that starts to feel normal and natural, okay, your second goal related to nutrition might be increasing your water intake and trying to get an extra liter of water every single day. When it comes to mental health, it might be taking 5 minutes out of the day to just sit with your thoughts and to not be on a screen or on a device and just be present, just be still. When that feels normal and natural, you might then add journaling. You might then add, morning pages to your routine, which is where you write 3 pages of writing every single morning just about your thoughts and emotions and what's happening for you in your life. That's just an example. But again, there's no right way to approach this. This is just you figuring out what feels good for your lifestyle and where you want to go with it. But really, you want to get good at building routines and having processes in place to ensure you're going to stay on track. And look at how often you are on track. What does on track mean to you? Because when we say, food, there are certain foods that are like occasional foods every now and again. For some people, every now and again is once a week, and that's still 52 times a year. For me, every now and again is like once every 4 months, 4 to 6 months. It's a very different definition. So understanding how consistent you are every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do you treat yourself very, very differently? And do you treat your health very, very differently Friday, Saturday, and Sunday compared to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Because that's half the time you're kind of being quote unquote adherent and on plan, and almost half the time that you're not. Of course, it's going to be really, really slow to see change and really, really slow to see progress if you're half committed and half not committed, or committed half the time and not half the time, and kind of tracking calories and getting steps and hitting the gym sometimes, but really also not the other half of the week. So look at how consistent you are and how you treat yourself and how you treat your health. And then zoom out and look at your annual routine too. What do you do January, February, March, April, May, June, July? What happens when a guest comes to town and stays with you? Do you stop exercising when your parents fly in? Do your parents really think less of you because you take an hour out of your day to go to your condo gym and exercise? I mean, again, that's just a perception. Pressure, if you feel pressured in that sense, that's a perception. That's you fearing that you will be rejected by them if if you exercise, if you take time to exercise and look after yourself, or if you don't eat like them, or if you don't drink like them. So understanding your patterns when it comes to the whole week and the whole month and the whole year is really, really critical. I live very, very arguably boringly consistently because the way that I eat and train Monday to Sunday doesn't really differ. The way that I treat my body month to month, year on year, doesn't really vary. It's very consistent. And that's why I've been able to achieve what I've achieved and continue to achieve even, more amazing and great things because of that consistency. For me, there's never an off. I'm never taking a week off of training, only when I had COVID because I couldn't breathe. And I understand that everyone's relationship with food and exercise is different. But my point being, understanding your patterns can help you understand your pitfalls. And if you always have these noticeable dips in energy or dips in weight or increases in weight, there's probably a reason for that. So make an effort to understand your patterns. And then typically you can reverse engineer from there to figure out the rest. So I hope that makes sense. That is a lot. But if you are listening to me for the first time, or if you're not so familiar with my backstory, I myself have actually lost and kept off 15 kilograms since this chapter of my health and fitness journey, which is back in 2010 when I was recovering from an injury. I was finally able to start moving my body again after 2 years of not being able to exercise. Not just not being able to swim, but not being able to exercise. I couldn't walk to the bus stop without getting a stitch. My intercostal space was so little, and the tension in my trunk was so great from the inflamed cartilage I had. I had costochondritis, so it's chronic inflamed cartilage that connects your ribcage to your sternum. That was a bit of a step back for me, but it's the best thing that ever happened to me for a number of reasons, which I won't go into in today's training. But just to give some context, it's easy to see people on the internet who look fit and healthy, quote unquote fit and healthy, and just think they have special genes, special DNA, and they've always been this way. And what the hell would they know? What would they understand? And well, I would say I understand a lot more than what a lot of people would probably think I do. I have tried different ways of eating. I have tried different approaches to exercise. I have previously consumed alcohol, though not so recently. That's really not been my thing for a really long time, actually. I would say about 10 years now. So just know that it is achievable and it is doable and it is possible to build a lifestyle that supports that. But a lifestyle that supports that can only be built if you have a self-identity and perspective and self-belief that supports that lifestyle. Because if you don't believe that you can live a certain way, then you won't. It's simple. If you don't believe that you can say no to alcohol, then of course you'll always continue to say yes and you'll continue to drink. And that may not be so helpful in you moving the needle on your health and fitness goals. Okay, so again, you do you, boo. If you want to drink alcohol, good for you. If you want to drink less, good for you. If you want to strictly stick to champagne and clear spirits, good for you. There's no quote unquote best way to go about that. My point being, though, you're not really helping anyone by eating and drinking in a certain way because you fear being rejected or you fear that you're going to be outcast and that people are not going to accept you. My mom has told me that I'm boring for not drinking before, and I honestly don't give two shits because not drinking is also not hurting anyone. Do you know, not drinking alcohol is not hurting anybody, and my identity just doesn't have the room for it. The way that I see myself doesn't have the room for alcohol. So that's me. But yeah, That's a lot to take in. I hope that helps. I hope there's some value in sharing all of that, and that you feel hope that you can build a self-belief system that allows you to live a healthy, quote unquote, healthy lifestyle, and a lifestyle that supports you in achieving all that you're looking to achieve with your health and well-being. And life's too short to not have that, truly. Again, you don't want to get to being that 6-year-old who needs to hold onto the handrail to walk up and down stairs, or be afraid of fracturing a hip, or not be able to put your suitcase in the overhead compartment. Like, fuck that, no thank you. And you can prevent all of that. You really, really can. So when it comes to the sustainability and the longevity side of things, it's really important that we look in years, decades to come, not just the next 30 days, not just the next 12 weeks, not just get fit for summer. Like, get fit because you have a body that can function really, really well, and function even better than what you're used to it functioning. It can be even, you can feel even better than what you feel. People don't know how good they can feel because they're used to feeling like shit. They're used to feeling tired and stressed and run down, which is a result, again, of their lifestyle. So when you believe that you can live a healthier lifestyle, then your actions follow. Then losing the weight becomes easy, and keeping it off is even easier. So it all comes back to those 6 inches between your ears. But I hope this was powerful for you. If you have any suggestions on future topics, do let me know. Do drop it in the comments, because I want to talk about what you want to hear about. So I appreciate you, and all of your contributions. Suggestions are very much welcome. I hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to catching you on the next training. Bye-bye for now.